That's better.
Okay. Mediocre Man here. Before I go into my 5 tips for the average painter, I was prepping for painting and I had puttied all the holes in the wall. So after I spackled all the holes in the wall and it dried, I needed to sand it. So I shouted down across the house, ears, there's gonna be some dust flying. So I got to my sanding and then put the brush down, and then up came my wife and she goes, "Oh my gosh, there's dust everywhere." And she starts frantically trying to close all the doors and gets the vacuum out, and she's quite upset about it. And I was like, "Well, I told you that there was going to be dust." I shouted down the stairs and she goes, "I didn't think it was gonna be that much." So then I'm like, "Man, I can't win." And she goes, "Well, I'm sorry. As long as you've learned your lesson and you're never gonna do this again." And I go, "Of course I'm never gonna do this again. Next time, I'm gonna make sure you're not home when I sand." Alright, 5 tips for the average DIY painter. Before I start with my 5 tips for the average painter, remember, you're gonna have to put the radio on. Best kind of radio is a DeWalt radio. They're not a sponsor, but that would be sweet. Anyways, number 1, always put plastic wrap over your paint can. What it does is it keeps it cleaner, and then that way when you shake it up, you just take the saran wrap, you toss it in the garbage, and put another piece over. I keep all my paint cans really clean, and that way it keeps the seal longer, and also it just keeps a cleaner area of when you're painting. Most of these tips I'm about to tell you are to do with cleaning, because cleaning is a huge part of painting. The cleaner you can keep it, the less of the headache. If it's a disaster while you're painting, it's just a huge pain in the egg. Number 2, a good tip. Take painter's tape and place it over the top of the can and use that to brush away the excess paint off your brush. This helps keep all the paint off the dripping down the edge and dripping in the crease where you want to put the lid back on later, and keeps it tighter sealed, which later on keeps the paint sealed, which keeps the paint fresher longer. Number 3, painter's tape and pop sheets. I can't stress it enough, it just keeps the project cleaner, you don't have to worry about drips. Put sheets on the bottom, painter's tape around all the edges that you can think of. Don't be afraid of using too much painter's tape. It just makes the job that much cleaner. It's just better to go that direction for the beginner painter. A lot of the videos out there might talk about cutting in. Don't worry about it, stick to painter's tape. Number 4, use a coffee sleeve as a painter's spout. You can just toss it out after, it's a lot less cleaning, but the best part about the painter's spout is it just keeps less drips from going over the edge of the painter's can and around the edge. Then it goes back on, and it's just a better, cleaner way to do the painting and to disperse your paint into the painting tray. Number 5, the patented brush hook. Go to your local hardware store, get an eye hook. The bigger the better. The one I use here is just a cheap one. You can get them for like a couple of these hooks for a couple dollars. Take a pilot hole, drive it through the painter's brush itself, thread that the little hook on, and then it just hangs in the painting can just perfectly, and you don't have to worry about balancing it or where to put your brush when you have to put the can down. It just sits in there and it makes way less of a mess. It's an awesome trick to go out there and use that. Stick to the painter's hook. And the bonus tip, as always, whenever doing home renovations, you should be drinking beer, because it just makes the day go by a little bit better. And until next time, this is Mediocre Man Magazine, and I'm Mediocre Man. Cheers!